We are recorded. Okay, so if you open your books up, you'll turn to page 11. And you'll see it, lesson number 9, talking about the density of rational numbers. Obviously, for this entire section, rational numbers have essentially been fractions. So, what that means is, as it says in the book, it is always possible to find a rational number between any two distinct rational numbers. Mathematicians express this idea by saying that the set of rational numbers is dense. Now, basically what that's saying is you could find other rational numbers between 2/3 and 4/5. You could find other numbers between 1 and 10. All right? And mathematicians use that, they describe that as a set of rational numbers as being dense, when you can find space in between, or numbers in between them. So basically the way that's expressed is if R and T represent rational numbers, with R being less than T, then there is a rational number S such that S is between R and T, and that's represented as R is less than S is less than T. You see that, you little, I'm kind of colorblind, is that box pink? Green, okay. I really am colorblind. All right, so one way to find a rational number between two given rational numbers is to find the one that's halfway between them, the middle point. Okay, and what I'm going to show you here, which will essentially be the whole of the lesson, will be how to find the midpoint between two fractions. Okay? So, as you see, I'm just going to work through example number 14 to start with. Example number 14, we're looking for the, how do I describe it? The rational number halfway between 1/2 and 3/4. So, we have to find the rational number between these two. All right? So what we're going to do first is the first thing is we're going to add these two together. So we got 1/2 plus 3/4 equals X. Well, we're going to have to get the common denominator for those, correct? All right, and this one being pretty simple, the lowest common denominator is going to be 4, right? All right, so basically we're going to leave this one as is, or for technicality's sake, we times that by 1, right? Plus, and then we're going to times this one by 2 and get 2/4. And yeah, 2/4 plus 3/4 equals, anybody out loud? 5/4. All right, so our first step has been, this will be the first step. All right, so the first step is we added the two fractions together, all right? And come out with our answer, which is 5/4. Now the second step is going to be to divide 5/4 by 2. That makes sense to everybody while we're doing that? Okay, let's simplify it down right quick. Say you wanted to find the midway point between, what's a good one? 7 and 9. All right? So, looking for the halfway point between 7 and 9. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add 7 and 9 up. All right? That's going to give us 16. Then we're going to divide 16 divided by 2. It's going to equal 8. It's fair to say that 8's between 7 and 9, right? Now, shift it up and think about it like this. So those will all be described as fractions. All right, and even if you did it that way, you know, to get to 8, and we'll come back down and do that right here. So you got 7 ones and 9 ones, obviously got the same common denominator to start out with, so you got 16 over 1. All right? And to get half of that, you divide it by 2. Well, just to do it in the idea of fractions, you got 16 over 1, but then you're going to times it, you're going to flip this, like we went over times and dividing fractions, right? We're going to have 1/2. So that's going to equal 16 over 2. And if you bring that down to your, what's the word I'm looking for on that one? What's it called when you bring like 2/4 down to 1/2? Yeah, the simplest form. Thank you. The simplest form is going to be 8. All right, so does that make, do you understand that a little better now that I use just normal numbers with it? So it's basically the concept, except we're doing, you know, fractions instead of just whole numbers. So, back to this one. When we added 1/2 and 3/4, we came out to 5/4, correct? So the next is going to be to divide that by 2. So we have 5 over 4 divided by 2 over 1 equals x. Now, what do I do to divide fractions? I flip the second one, right, and then times them across. Alright? So, we're going to come down here, we're going to do, is that getting on my screen? Yes, it is. 5/4 times 1 over 2. And that's going to give me 5 over 8. Can 5/8 be simplified? No. So the answer to this, the halfway point between 1/2 and 3/4 is 5/8. And if you want to go down through that and see that step by step, that's example number 14 in your book. All right? So, anybody needs some extra time to write any of this down? You ready for me to move on? We're good? All right. Let's see, Delina? Starting to remember everybody's names. Okay. Let's find the halfway point between 3/5 and 5/6. This is going to get a little bit more complicated, but I'm going to come over here. I'm going to start on my first step. Add them together. So I got 3/5 plus 5/6 equals x. So common denominator is probably going to be, what's going to be, Delana? 30, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to time this side by 6. So we get 18/30. Does that seem correct? All right, and on this side we're going to times it by 5 and get 25/30. Add those together, we get, what, 43/30? Does that seem right to everybody? All right. So we have 43/30. Now, we're going to leave that like it is right now as an improper fraction to move on to the second step. All right? Caitlin, what do we do in the second step?
You divide the 43/30 by 2.
Yes, ma'am. So we're gonna have 43 over 30. We're gonna divide it by 2 over 1 is x. So we all remember how to divide fractions, right? What do? Flip that one and times it. So we have 43 over 30 times 1 over 2. That's going to give us 43 over 60. Can you reduce 43 over 60? I don't believe you can. I believe 43 is a prime number. Anybody else agree with that? Yeah, like I say, I believe 43 is a prime number, so it's only divisible by 1. So your answer is 43/60th is the halfway point between 3/5 and 5/6. And see, that's what's interesting to me about fractions, and especially finding this with the fractions, is you can always go to smaller parts. So see, we're dealing with 60ths, whereas we started with 5ths and 6ths. So that's the interesting thing about fractions, rational numbers there. Alright, I'm gonna do one more up here for the sake of the video, then I'm gonna give y'all one to work on your own, and then I'm gonna assign homework. Does that sound good? Let's try to make it simple. Let's say, let's say the halfway point between 1/2 and 1/1. All right. So first step. Caitlin, what am I doing my first step?
First step, therefore, common denominator.
Because
So you can divide on Adam.
I'm gonna add them. So we got 1/2 plus 1 equals x. Well, the common denominator is obviously gonna be 2. So we'll just time this side by 1, leave it at 1/2. You'll have plus times this side by 2. You'll have 2 over 2. So that gives us 3/2. All right. So in the second step, Delina, what am I doing in the second step? Divided by 2. So take 3/2 divided by 2 equals x. Well, what are we gonna do here?
Flip the second.
Flip the second one times it. So we got a 3.
Coach Hooker,
Yes?
Mercedes Moreno is being signed out.
All right, Mercedes. She's on her way. What was that? 1/2. That's going to be fun in the video. All right. So 3/2 times 1/2. You get 3 on top as your numerator, and on the bottom you're going to get 4 as your denominator. 3/4 can't be simplified, right? So the halfway point between 1 and 1/2 is 3/4. Y'all understand that? Any questions? All right. Well, I'm going to stop the video